Some of you guys are giving me crap for the way I dress, how I'm so casual. So in honor of you, I've decided to dress appropriately for today's watch presentation on a full metal titanium square. Now, joking aside, it's a watch that I don't think carries great value for money because I'm so conditioned to spending, $200, $300 on a Casio and not, $1,700 full retail. Now, I recognize not everybody feels the same way. I know there are some G-Shock fans that rushed out to buy this camo titanium full metal square when it first debuted, and they were happy to pay full retail, and they really were excited about the watch that they received. Now, just because I don't think it's great value for money, it doesn't mean it's not a great watch or that you made a poor choice. I just had kind of an issue with the price because, again, I've been conditioned to spend $500 or less on G-Shock. And so this one, let's talk about it. It's just a strange example of a watch that is pretty pricey. It's competing with the likes of, let's say, Zen and Monta and Longines at its price tier, but it's a completely different watch than a 104 or a Hydro Conquest or, an Atlas. And so it's just kind of an oddball, but it's one that I love. It's a really interesting model that I have used as my beater for the past couple months. This is one that I purchased pre-owned. I'm the second owner, and you guys can see it's in lovely condition, and more on that, a little bit later on in the video. But I wear my G-Shocks. I love camping. That's one of my favorite activities personally, is getting into the mountains and going camping, or going into southern Utah, into Red Rock Desert, and hiking and camping and doing all that, all that awesome stuff. Utah's a really gorgeous place, and the G-Shock just feels appropriate on my wrist because it's comfortable, it's shock resistant, it's water resistant, it's very accurate, very easy to read whether it's natural light or low light. And so it just makes the ideal tool or beater type watch. And I wear my watches in those types of activities. I go rafting, I go mountain climbing, I go, camping with my family. And you guys can see this has held up really well. And that is something that I get asked quite a bit by fellow watch enthusiasts like, Bruce, how are the full metal squares? Don't they get nasty? Don't they get hairline wear marks and scratches? Why would I spend more for one of those models when I can buy, a 5600 or a 5610 at under $200 and not have to worry about that? Well, fair point. If you have an alloy, if you get a metal watch, it's probably going to get marred and marked, especially if you beat on it. But surprisingly, the B5000s, they hold up really, really well. And that's a nice thing as a watch enthusiast. And I'm happy to say with the titanium version, this camo laser applied the square, this B5000, this one holds up even better than the stainless steel versions because of the DLC coating here. Whatever Casio is doing, they're doing a phenomenal job. Again, I'm a second owner, and I wear and use these as tool watches. And, this was covered in sand in the Green River not only, 3 weeks ago. And so, again, it's held up surprisingly well. I don't see any hairline wear marks. I don't see any scratches. And for something that's this lightweight, fashioned out of titanium, again, that's pretty awesome. So this watch, it doesn't carry the intrinsic value or bang for buck, so to speak, as a 5610 or even like a stainless steel B5000 that you can find for under, $400 if you do some shopping. And, those watches, I think, are great value propositions. It's a heck of a way to spend, $150 or $350 horologically speaking. And that's always a satisfying thing. But this, $1,700 full retail, and I paid $950 pre-owned. It's just an odd price for something so toolish and 80s and funky as the G-Shock Square is. But this hobby, at least for me, is not a logical hobby. It's more of an emotional hobby where I have to connect with the watch. And if I like it, who cares what anybody else thinks about value proposition or what I should do with my own money? If I like it, I want to buy it, even though with this one, I kind of struggled a little bit because I didn't want to pay full retail. I wanted the watch, but I didn't want to pay for the watch. And so I had to wait for a pre-owned price, some months on down the road. And even then, almost $1,000 for a G-Shock Square sounds a little heavy to most of us, I think. But I'm really glad that I did purchase it because I'm enjoying this one more than the Bling Master and, the 5610, the NASA Special Edition, or some of the other ones that I've owned, borrowed, and reviewed. This one I think is the ideal G-Shock, and let me explain why I like it so much and which one I'm also kind of eyeing in the future. Now, I think, when I'm considering G-Shock, there's one image that comes to mind, and it's not a Mudmaster, it's not a Frogman, it's not a 2100, it's a Square. It's the granddaddy of all G-Shocks. Came out in 1983 originally. And aesthetically speaking, there's nothing specifically alluring to it. It's kind of bulky. It's a digital watch. Again, it's not super attractive, but it's kind of charming at the same time. And it has developed that cult-like following over the decades. And if you look at the design language, it is relatively unchanged in over 30 years. And that is something that I consider a really positive point as a watch enthusiast. And then you consider this titanium here, this DLC treated titanium with a laser applied camo pattern, and you get that lightweight nature, that positive quality that you get with the resin versions, with the composite versions, but it also feels a little bit more substantial and robust because you have an alloy, you have a metal on wrist with a full bracelet. So really it's the best of both worlds, and I really enjoy this module. It's the multi-band 6 module. It's atomic time syncing once a day. It gets a signal from Fort Collins, Colorado. And with me, I'm never up all night, so I know it happens sometime between midnight and 6 a.m. I'm not sure exactly when I get the signal, but there's a little designation that appears on the crystal that says received. And so I know that it auto-synced to the absolute perfect time. And I like that. This module also carries Bluetooth capability, so you can sync it to your phone. If you have the G-Shock app, you can set chronographs, stopwatch, alarms, all of that stuff. I don't use it only because I'm kind of old school. I'm a child of the 80s. I have the appropriate jacket and hair. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just a little old school, and I don't want my watch connected with my phone. I'm not a tech guy. I'm a watch guy. I'm a little bit old school, so I never use the Bluetooth. But I do like the fact that this carries a sapphire crystal, so it's going to be just as scratch resistant, if not more, than the treated titanium metal here. And then I love the fact that we get an LED light up feature. Now, if you press the top right button here on the module, you can engage the light up feature at any time. But I have this set to auto light up when the watch senses that it's in low light. If it's in bright natural light like the room we're in now, it's not going to work. But in low light, it will work when you move your wrist up, and the watch can sense when you get it to that 45-degree angle, and then it does that slow transition in to brightness, and you can completely read the watch and also program it for the duration that you would like it to stay lit up. And then it softly transitions out. And so I have that set, and you guys can see LT here on the display. That is the light up feature engaged. And then left of that, you can see PS, that stands for power saving mode. And you can disable that if you're inclined to do it. And then below the day of the week, you can see DST, which stands for daylight savings time. So we're in the summer. The watch recognizes, the time zone, the daylight savings segment we're in right now. And then you can see a little music note with a line through it above the running seconds. That's just signifying that I have this set to mute. So as I operate the different functions and cycle through, you're not going to hear the little digital beeps, and just something that I've done here. But anyways, I just wanted to share with you guys this awesome purchase, and it's awesome because it's a really great model in its own, but it doesn't carry that value that we're looking for as G-Shock enthusiasts for the most part. I mean, you look at a 5610 for $150 and it can do 95% of the things that this thing can do, and you're not getting anything added in capability outside of LED, outside of a sapphire crystal, outside of the transitional light up feature or the Bluetooth. I mean, it is really close in terms of what it can do and where it can go and how comfortable it is, but it's also a lot less money. So the value is had at the lower price segments, but I think the most enjoyment that I've had with G-Shock has been found here with this B5000 TCM1. Now I'm going to leave you with one thing. There's another titanium version that I really have my eye on, and it is the reference TB-1. It's all black. It's really stealth, and it has a positive display because I think, the biggest nitpick or negative element here, in my opinion, is the negative display. It doesn't have the contrast that you look for at split second, at a glance legibility in natural light. And so the TCM-1, I think, improves upon that and also looks a little bit more under the radar. It doesn't have the camo print. It looks almost like a far less expensive G-Shock than this one does. And there's something about that that kind of draws me in. So hopefully I can find a pre-owned price on that one to where I can, it's more palatable to spend $1,000 on a G-Shock than it is to spend $1,800 or $1,700 on one. So hopefully one will pop up in great condition at the right price, and I can enjoy it alongside this one, and maybe hopefully expand my collection of full metal squares because at the moment I'm just down to this one. And that takes us to the end of the video. Thank you for tuning in today. Hopefully you enjoyed my dressing up appropriately for the subject matter of today's watch presentation. I'm not going to make it a habit of doing it, but I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you next time.